Chapter 4 of Make Your Bed. Life's Not Fair. Drive On. It's the title of the chapter. If you want to change the world, get over being a sugar cookie and keep moving forward. Who remembers what a sugar cookie is according to this book? Anybody? Well, no, if you got in trouble during SEAL training, if something wasn't absolutely perfect, they make you roll in that freezing cold wet sand and get covered in sand and stay that way all day. You know how miserable that is to be covered in sand, wet sand all day? So that's a sugar cookie. Here we go. I ran to the top of the sand dune and without hesitation sprinted down the side, heading full speed toward the Pacific Ocean. Fully clothed in my green utilities, short-billed hat, and combat boots, I dove headfirst into the waves as they pounded the beach of Coronado, California. I can't even imagine how heavy those boots were, wet. Emerging soaking wet from the water, I saw the SEAL instructor standing on the dune. With his arms folded and a piercing glare that cut through the morning haze, I heard him yell, "You know what to do, Mr. Mack." That was his nickname because his name was McCraven. Indeed, I did. With pretend enthusiasm, I screamed a hearty "Hoo-yah!" at the top of my lungs and fell face down into the soft sand, rolling from side to side to ensure that no part of my uniform was left uncovered. Then, for good measure, I sat up, reached deep into the ground, and tossed sand in the air to guarantee it found its way to every crevice in my body. Somewhere during the morning's physical training, I had committed a violation of the SEAL's training rules. My punishment was to jump into the surf zone, roll around in the sand, and make myself a sugar cookie. In all of SEAL training, there was nothing more uncomfortable than being a sugar cookie. There were a lot of things more painful and more exhausting, but being a sugar cookie tested your patience and your determination. Not just because you spent the rest of the day with sand down your neck, under your arms, and between your legs, but because the act of becoming a sugar cookie was completely indiscriminate. There was no rhyme or reason. You became a sugar cookie at the whim of the instructor, even if you had done nothing wrong. To many of the SEAL trainees, this was very hard to accept. Those that strived to be the very best expected that they would be rewarded for their stellar performance. Sometimes they were, and then again, sometimes they were not. Sometimes the only thing they got for all their effort was being wet and sandy as a sugar cookie. Feeling like I was sufficiently coated with sand, I ran to the instructor, yelled, "Hoo-yah!" again, and came to attention. Looking me over to see if I met his standard of excellence in sugar cookie was Lieutenant Philip J. Martin, known to his friends as Moki. I, however, was not on a first-name basis with Lieutenant Martin. Moki Martin was the quintessential frogman. Born and raised in Hawaii, he was everything I strived to be as a SEAL officer. An experienced Vietnam veteran, he was an expert with every weapon in the SEAL inventory. He was one of the finest skydivers in the teams, and being a native Hawaiian, he was so skilled in the water that there were few, if any, who could match him. "Mr. Mack, do you have any idea why you were a sugar cookie this morning?" Martin said in a very calm but questioning manner. "No, Instructor Martin," I dutifully responded. "Because, Mr. Mack, life isn't fair. And the sooner you learn that, the better off you will be." A year later, Lieutenant Martin and I were on a first-name basis. I had completed basic SEAL training, and he had been reassigned from the training center to Underwater Demolition 11 in Coronado. The more I got to know Moki, the deeper my respect grew for him. In addition to being a superb SEAL operator, Moki was also a phenomenal athlete. In the early 1980s, he was on the leading edge of the triathlon craze. He had a beautiful freestyle stroke in the open ocean. His calves and thighs were strong and moved him effortlessly along the long runs. But his real advantage was a bicycle. He and the bike were made for each other. Every morning he would mount the bike and go for a 30-mile ride every morning before he had to be on call, up and down the Coronado Silver Strand. There was a flat stretch of paved bike path that paralleled the Pacific Ocean. It ran from the city of Coronado to the city of Imperial Beach, with the ocean on one side and the bay on the other. It was one of the most beautiful sections of the beach in California. Early one Saturday morning, Moki went out on a training ride along the Silver Strand. Head down, pedaling fast, he never saw the oncoming bicycle. At roughly 25 miles an hour, the two bikes collided head on. The bikes crumpled from the impact, slamming the riders together, leaving both men face down on the asphalt path. The first rider rolled over, dusted himself off, and struggled to his feet. He was pretty banged up, but otherwise fine. Moki remained face down, unable to move. The paramedics arrived within minutes, stabilized Moki, and transported him to the hospital. Initially, there was hope that his paralysis was temporary, but as the days and months and years passed, Moki never regained the use of his legs. The crash left him paralyzed from the waist down with limited movement in his arms. For the past 35 years, Moki has been in a wheelchair. In all those years, I never once heard him complain about his misfortune in life. Never once did I hear him ask, "Why me?" Never once did he display an ounce of pity for himself. In fact, after his accident, Moki went on to be an accomplished painter. He fathered a beautiful young girl. He founded and continues to oversee the Super Frog Triathlon that is held every year in Coronado. It is easy to blame your lot in life on some outside force to stop trying because you believe fate is against you. It is easy to think that where you were raised, how your parents treated you, or what school you went to is all that determines your future. Nothing could be further from the truth. The common people and the great men and women are all defined by how they deal with the unfairness of life. Helen Keller, Nelson Mandela, Stephen Hawking, Malala Yousafzai, and Moki Martin. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, no matter how good you are, you still end up as a sugar cookie. Don't complain. Don't blame it on your misfortune. Stand tall, look to the future, and drive on. Y'all, some of you have like picture perfect lives and some of you do not. When I was your age, I definitely did not have a picture perfect life. And I did blame a lot of stuff on my parents. And I did excuse some of my bad behavior because after all, my parents so mistreated me. I had to learn pretty early in my adult life that doing that blaming my misfortune on others or excusing my bad decisions on others was just an excuse. And it did not help me at all. It only put me further down that pit of self-pity. And when you're wallowing in self-pity, how accomplished can you be? Have any ever, and I'm sure you all have, felt sorry for yourself at some point? I don't know if you felt sorry for yourself when you broke your leg. Did you feel a little, I would have felt a little sorry for myself. Think of what you went through, all the pain, the surgery, the physical therapy. It would be so easy. And yet you came back here and you brought your grade up in social studies. That's pretty impressive, y'all. Through all of that, his grades got better. Make sure when life is unfair, when things happen that is no fault of your own, that you focus on that's just life. Stuff happens. Unfair things happen. It's how you make a decision to deal with it that will determine your life. And I know you're all going, Ms. Donaldson, you're so boring. You say this all the time. Please take it to heart. When things happen that aren't fair, when things happen that you have no control over and you hate them, the difference is your attitude. The difference is how you choose to deal with it. We don't always get to choose our circumstances. We don't get to choose how people treat us, but we do get to choose how we respond to them. Don't react. Reaction is self-pity, anger, and blaming others, right? Have you ever done that? Something bad happens and your reaction is anger, self-pity, and blame. Responding is, it's not fair, it's not right, but that's part of life. And I'm going to choose to persevere through this. I'm going to choose to be joyful in the midst. I never saw him feeling sorry for himself. He never complained to me. Sonalson, I just can't do the work. My leg hurts too hard. Not once. And Madden, I don't mean to pick on you, but I was impressed. Okay? That is how you deal with things. Now, in your quiet moments, are there going to be moments where you feel sorry for yourself? Of course. Of course. And you're allowed to do that for a little while. But you got to put that in a bottle and put it away. Fill that bottle up with self-pity while you're alone and then put it away. Because it does you no good. It's like poison. You don't want to drink that poison. This is where the game is played, right here in your mind. This is where the decision is made. That regardless of what happens in my life, fair or unfair, I'm going to persevere. I'm going to do it with joy, no matter what. That is the secret to a great life. All right?